So, Carver, at some point during the escapades of whatever the fuck he gets into, which is mostly something to do with an explosion, getting dragged somewhere, apparently getting into fights, and blowing up people sooner than I thought. I'm not going to lie, he secretly enjoyed that. Felt good. At some point, he is going to find the time to actually make it over to the hotel he determined was risen up in place of Eden's Garden, whose actual name I forget. But I'm going to keep calling it Eden's Garden because only Eden could be as much of a bitch as constantly slowing down construction, but not killing anyone, which actually implies that maybe she didn't want to, which also implies a higher source of humanity. So perhaps somebody a bit more conscionable than some of the other kindred we've seen. Because as far as I know, it takes an actual remarkable amount of will to maintain your humanity, your moralities, the older you get as a kindred, because you just get desensitized to everything. You stop thinking about what happens if I kill somebody, and it becomes oh, I killed somebody. Oh well. So, with his affairs for the day put behind him, whatever those may be, restocked on cherry bombs, having his handgun with him, because even though it'll mean dick against the kindred, most kindred, it's still better to have. And against humans, that can be quite an effective deterrent, which could still be a problem. But at some point, he will find himself driving out to the hotel.
Alright. So, as you get there, it's late enough at this point that it is not overly busy, but there are still, because of where it's located, here and there a straggler or two. At least one guy who seems to be sipping the devil's water out of a paper bag in a way that he seems to think is rather covert, and it is not, down the sidewalk. And what you come to when you reach the address is a low fronted colonial style home, painted white. It is designed to mimic a building of an older era, and yet the materials, if you pay attention, appear too new. And you can tell that there is some sort of activity going about inside, or at least at any rate, looking up the porch and into the windows, you can still see quite a bit of light.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just an abandoned hotel, it's actively in use.
Yes.
And it's not like the mainstream 4-star skyscraper hotels. This is something a bit more homely and fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that makes it a bit easier and also harder because I imagined a skyscraper hotel. But yeah, Carver will first, before walking in, he's just going to like peruse the reviews of this place and try to get a general sort of feel for the kind of customers it has, what the reception is like, and how he should approach this, in a sort of speaking way. Because he's not going to just bust in there and be like, all right, yeah, I'm just looking around and improvise his way through it. He's not Markon.
Yeah.
And he's not Cass, who would lift everything not bolted to the ground.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you're looking through the reviews, it appears to be a lot of pretty positive comments, neutral or positive, like, great style, enjoyed the food. There is a restaurant downstairs, as well as essentially what amounts to almost a bread and breakfast level of treatment to the way the guests are treated. So it's a little bit more than just room service, really. But most of the comments talk about how impressive it was. There's different assessments of the architecture, the style, critiques about how some of it wasn't entirely period specific, and things of that nature. One person who was, dissatisfied with the number of towels they were given, and a few other fairly petty comments. But by and large, they're positive. And from the sorts of things they're talking about and the prices that you find on the website for the hotel, this isn't a place that only the, upper echelons of society stay, but it's well above the grade of a Motel 6. You're not going to get just anybody walking in off the street. It's not a hostel. It is a place that you have to book in advance, and while the prices may not be entirely exorbitant, they are definitely above average. So you're looking at upper middle class, perhaps someone in New Orleans would come to stay on their honeymoon, or for a business trip, something of that sort.
So if you were looking to book a night, you'd be looking to spend a hot penny.
If by hot penny you mean at least around a couple $100 or so, yes.
Yeah, that's a nice hot penny that I will drop. But yeah, so with that in mind, and him still dressed in his fancy to-dos, at least he'll fit the bill. So, there's no point in sneaking around. He will walk up.
All right. And you will, as you enter, of course, you will find yourself more or less walking into this main hall here. And it is fairly brightly lit, a little darker than it might initially seem there, with antique furniture, lots of velvet and rich upholstery, very ornately carved wood and fabrics, fresh flowers in multiple vases spread throughout the room. In fact, the entire place smells at once of something a little bit like a sort of smoky smell, like a fireplace had been burning with flowers. So it's not at all an unpleasant level of smokiness. It's just a kind of earthy tone underneath the aroma of the florals. And there is a guest book that is laid out right here in front of the first vase of roses on the main table in the entryway. And then you would see over here to the left what would more or less be the entry to the main dining room. And then other rooms off to the side in this, that's not what I meant to add, in this direction. And then further over this way, there is in fact a desk with a woman. Actually, no one is there, and it seems therefore empty until a couple minutes while you've been kind of walking in and examining the room. You start hearing kind of stalking heavy footsteps walking in, and then
I will note real quick.
Okay.
That he is blushing. He would be blushing when he walks in here.
All right, that's fair.
Since they got that little tidbit of how you do this, it's a good idea.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, this girl is long, dark hair, blunt bangs across her forehead, is wearing a dark-colored crop top and a choker necklace with dark jeans and those chunky sort of somewhere between tennis shoes and boots type footwear. And she's stalking out, looking very frustrated, with this woman who is a little bit taller, has flowing, shoulder-length, curled, dark hair, deep brown eyes, and she's also wearing black, but she's wearing more of a something you would expect to see in a place like this. She is wearing a black dress that is about mid-calf length of a suitable, almost satin-like material. Maybe it actually is satin. And she seems frustrated. She's trying to talk to the other girl, and she calls her Philippa and tries to get her to turn back around. And at first it just seems like she's going to ignore the other woman until she does come to an abrupt stop, and she turns back around and she says, "I've had it. I'm tired of you acting like you're better than I am. I came here for help like you asked me to, and you just threw it back in my face. So we're done. That's it. Have a nice life."
Just to note, these two have heartbeats, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so especially hearing this, Carver is going to make a pointed show of doing the Carver thing, observing the walls. But this isn't because he's feeling awkward. This is because he is trying to listen in on what's going on without it seeming like he's listening in.
Well, alright, then you roll
But
me.
mostly because he was looking around and observing when they walked in, and it's more like, oh, they're arguing. I better.
Roll me.
Nobody likes to be watched when they're arguing.
Roll me composure stealth.
Yes, ma'am. 5 dice, 6. Oh, damn. Okay, so 4 successes.
Alright, then yes, you are able to, with their distracted state, quite easily play off as if you're ignoring the scenario or just minding your own business. And this girl is going to turn and stalk out the front doors, being not too terribly kind about how she barges them open. And then after she's gone, this woman is just going to kind of stop to the side of the entryway table and stare back after her in dismay, and then sigh and kind of pinch the bridge of her nose with her head in her hands, and then look up and abruptly see you, and she'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize for you having to have seen that. There was a poor reaction to staffing interview, unfortunately. I'll be with you in just a moment." And she steps forward.
I would like to roll insight on that bullshit.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, that did not sound like a staffing issue, but I will fucking roll for it. Gimme. Goddamn.
Yep. So, yeah, you read that right. She is she's not lying entirely exactly, but she is absolutely putting a positive spin on an interaction that was far more personal than she's trying to let on. It was actually an interview about staffing, but it wasn't just a casual person walking off the street. She is friends with and cares about the girl that just walked out the door, and is hurt by how angry she is, and also disappointed and angry with how the girl reacted, as well as the fact that she personally couldn't really help after all.
Okay, yeah. So once she starts talking to him, he waits a good couple of words before turning and like his eyebrows raising, and he'll just nod and say, "Oh, of course." To her asking of him to wait just a moment.
And then she will dip her head forward and go to close the doors, making a point of checking them to ensure that they weren't somehow damaged in the force of them being knocked open. And then once she's satisfied that they're still intact, she'll turn back to you and say, I'm Evelyn, the host for the evening. How can I help you?
Time to lie out the fucking ass. And he'll walk up, bright smile, and offer a hand and say, good evening. My name is Hayden, and I represent a company called Lunar Flame. And my superiors are interested in performing a sort of publicity event for you.
Wait, which thing did you say you represented?
Lunar
Did you
Flame.
say that one? Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And she's going to raise an eyebrow and say, well, that is, well, very unexpected, I must say. I can't say that I've heard of that company. Why the sudden interest in promotion?
My employers are very interested in the, upkeep and history of New Orleans, and especially in the aftermath of Katrina.
Oh, wait, you got to roll for that, by the way, before we get too far into this.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering why you hadn't asked, but if you weren't going to ask, I wasn't going to point it out. Okay. Yes, and I will spend a willpower on this because I want this to fucking go through. That's 7 dice. 6. Okay, there's a 10.
I mean, you got her either way.
I like to roll up. That's 5. That's 5.
Yeah. You are the epitome of authenticity. Apparently, I can't speak English tonight. But
don't worry, English is kind of overrated.
yes. So she says exactly what I had initially suggested. Mm-hmm. She hadn't heard of your company and asked about why you all would be interested in doing this.
And he would have continued on as he did and further expanded, especially in the aftermath of Katrina, where most of our local sites of history and heritage have been damaged or destroyed or find themselves, unfortunately, destitute. My employers have taken it upon themselves to offer publicity events. We are not offended that you haven't heard of us. Most people, when they see fireworks lighting up the night sky, think pretty fireworks, and they don't think, I wonder who made them.
And she's gonna, oh, I see, a fireworks company. Yes, that makes sense. Although, I must say it's a bit surprising that a fireworks company would like to host a publicity event here for the hotel. I'm not entirely sure what sort of event might really suit the clientele or she pauses, owner's preferences. From your previous role against her, when she says owner, there's a very personal element to that too. And she's going to say, but I would be happy to take down your contact information and any details you could offer about what you exactly wanted to do or had in mind.
Of course, and that's precisely why I'm here. My employers wanted me to make a detailed report on the history of this building. All of our fireworks are custom made, and, well, our CEO is a bit of a stickler for it. He likes to make each order feel unique and amazing.
She smiles. Well, that is certainly a quality I'm sure your clients appreciate.
So far, they have, yes. But in order for us to really give you the kind of publicity that such a storied locale deserves, um, we need to know more about the history of this building.
Well,
Now, I'll admit, I Googled a little bit and I saw some references online about some construction problems, but until look around, I don't see any now, so obviously you got over it.
she's gonna give one of those sorts of uh, sort of pleasantry laughs you give to fill in the space or to be polite about something someone said that you don't really want to directly acknowledge. And then she says, yes, well, exactly as you say, the hotel is fully operational, and whatever complications there may have been during construction, that has all been entirely dealt with. The building itself is largely a new construct, although there are parts that are older. There were homes, a home here on much of the site. In fact, a lot of the courtyard was constructed on the remains of its garden, and portions of the building were used as a base around which the rest of the hotel were designed.
I see. And just out of personal curiosity, what happened to the previous owners of this land? Did your superiors buy them out?
Yes, they were bought out.
I was hoping for more. Damn. But he'll nod. Well, I would certainly love to hear about some of the architectural inspirations for your hotel, and honestly, I would love to hear more about why this design.
And
I mean, certainly more money could have been made by making a larger building, but you seem to have gone for more style and form over monetary function.
and
A practice that we can appreciate.
she smiles and says, "We are glad to hear that you noticed, of course. That was the intent. The Magnolia House was never meant to be a building of modern style. It is entirely meant to harken back to the history of New Orleans and those who have inhabited it in a way that is as authentic to the time as can be accomplished while still offering the modern amenities that people are used to when they visit a place away from home."
Mm-hmm.
So while of course you can see the furnishings are much older in style, and in fact many of are genuine antiques from the era, the building is heated and cooled. There is of course the wiring for Wi-Fi and cable, and she'll gesture to the TV over on the other side of the lobby. And of course there is a fully modern kitchen that is where all of the meals for that are offered are cooked every day, and of course up-to-date laundry facilities, and the plumbing is all perfectly modern, even though the style of the washrooms are more again in line with the rest of the time. And it, I suppose, I'm not sure exactly what time period per se was in mind. It pulls a little bit from different eras. The Corinthian columns out front and the wide porch with its overhanging ceiling, that's more of a colonial design, but then much of the shutters and the decorative railings, different plasterwork elements inside the building, and indeed the different elements in the furniture are not entirely cohesive in all places. It's mostly 19th century, and that's the general time frame they would cite, and that's what we mean when we say era. So it's not any particular one style just from that time or a narrow period, but to my understanding, more of a broad nod to that century as a whole.
I see. Well, it certainly seems like you've managed to combine the style and aesthetics of ages past and mix them with the functionality of the present. It is impressive and certainly awe-inspiring. I mean, your hotel is beautiful.
Thank you.
I hate to impose, but if you don't have any duties you must perform right now, I would absolutely love a tour.
She pauses, her brow furrowing a little bit. I. Well, typically. Go ahead and roll persuasion before I say how she responds.
Oh, fuck. Did I buy persuasion? Nope. Hello, willpower. All right, so that would just be charisma or manipulation.
Let's go with manipulation because you're actively trying to get her to do something.
Okay. Oof, so I broke even. I kind of want to spend a super. Wait, how much super dice do I have? Do I have one I can spare? I have 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have 3 to spare. So yeah, I don't think this'll. Yeah. So I haven't used super dice since like the first game. I don't remember how we do it.
You just re-roll it.
Okay.
And your willpower still counts. And also, you don't get botches.
That is nice, yes. Alright, so. Thankfully, I don't. All I need is 1. I just need 1. Come on. That's 2.
That is a
okay, so. Yes. Yeah, okay, well.
Right.
Lying is his specialty. Persuading is not. I'll have to buy into that.
So, at first she is hesitant, and then she looks at you again and seems to rethink the matter after giving you another once-over, and then she says, normally it's against policy to go about tours that aren't officially scheduled, but our visitor count is low at the moment, and you have made a rather compelling case for your company's interest in helping us to promote mutual benefit, of course. So sure, if you can follow me. And then as she goes to head out, she does place a sign on the front desk that says that she'll return shortly.
Yep, and he will take a seat and just so patiently wait. Just the.
Oh no, that's for her to go with you.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, he would follow. He would follow her then. I thought she was asking him to wait a moment.
No. And then, excuse me, sorry, got a yawn there. She will start with, of course, and as you can see, this is obviously the lobby, but then she will gesture and say, if you will follow me this way, she'll lead you in this direction so that you go through this door. And then as you go through this door, you're entering from the end of that, and it brings into you another very bright dining room with a long oak table that is, again, very ornately carved, and yet it is a glass topper on it. And the chairs are very standard straight back, but again, they're carved, and the cushions on them are, it's a creamy sort of maybe something like a paisley but more swirled pattern on the cushions themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
the fireplace is a nice black marble with a very gold mirror taking up much of the space above it. And once again, flowers abound all over the room, standing on a plinth in the corner, a giant white
Mm-hmm.
flowered centerpiece on the mantle, etc. And she pauses, gesturing, and I suppose the purpose of this room is rather obvious, although it is not the only dining room we have. There are a few there are places out on the veranda that people can dine in, and there is the restaurant down below, which many people tend to use for dinner or things throughout the day. This is more of a planned, scheduled breakfast for people staying in certain suites that we have here at the hotel. And then from there, she will lead you through that on into what is a bit of a, despite her having said that the kitchen is modern, this area seems to be basically a place for guests to actually speak with someone who's in the kitchen. So there are a few other smaller tables that are more for casual dining or where someone might just come to have a cup of coffee, and a few different, displays with different baked goods and items of that sort with a little window and a bell on it that comes right up to the kitchen, more or less, if you peer in through that. And then through there you can see all of the bright steel and heavier tile and sounds of water flowing and chopping and all this, that, and the other thing that one's bound to hear in a kitchen. From there, she leads you out onto what is, or into what is more of a larger gathering space, such as you might have for a conference or a smaller kind of dance or ballroom gathering. And from there out onto a very large, wide, encirculating porch. From the way you saw the front, it could be surmised that it largely may perhaps be somewhat a wraparound. And then you see a very ornate courtyard, but it is entirely much more brick than it is garden. There are flower beds everywhere, but you can tell that it's been quite deliberately landscaped to be pleasant to look at, but to have, as it does now, a great many different tables that are available, and there are quite a few people here and there sitting out on these wired tables. I say wired tables because they're those those kind of thin metal ones that are almost like basket weave metal. Yeah. And the chairs match that, and then around the entire thing there are up on kind of woven through the trees / up on posts in different places where the branches don't meet. Not fairy lights, they're a lot bigger than that, but outdoor soft glowing bulbs for atmosphere. And you can hear the sound of the restaurant below, and there are stairs down onto the courtyard that essentially match what the front entrance to the building had. And from the bustle, you can tell that the restaurant entrance is probably more down on this end or to the side of the building. And then she'll pause here to let you have a look around.
Sorry. Yeah, so the entire time during this tour, he was very much appreciative because Carver actually is appreciative of what he's seeing. It is beautiful architecture and just gorgeously made and maintained. And personally, I imagine that a lot of hotels that offer this kind of like unique sort of venue or bed and breakfasts, whatever have you, they put it up and then they don't repair anything unless they absolutely have to because it costs so much to do that. But as far as what you've described, there doesn't seem to be any sort of obvious damage. Either they've been very, very careful for as long as this place has been up, or they are very fastidious about making sure everything is nice and repaired and in a presentable fashion. And it's all, especially from the pictures you're showing us, is just gorgeous. And when they come out into this, fuck, what did you say? It was the back veranda. Is that what you said it was?
Yes.
Yeah. And once they come out there, he will actually take several steps forward and just enjoy the sights. The tables that are just nice and neatly spaced, the view it offers. What is the view like? What does he see when he looks off the veranda?
Just very nice brick lay on the courtyard itself and flower beds full of different little. It's largely surrounded by palm trees, and then below that, some ferns. So very green, but not overly colorful. So basically, it looks like it's meant to be hardy and pleasant without having to have a lot of work to regularly maintain different seasonal types of plants.
Mm-hmm. Well, that kind of thing isn't a bad idea, but he will take a look around and nod very much approvingly and affirming of everything she said about the place's architectural design, the care that's went into choosing everything. It's gorgeous. And he'll turn around and say, "Well, I am. Everything is just." I'm sorry, I seem to be at a loss for words. I'd heard that this place was beautiful, but it's quite a bit more to hear about it than to see it.
She smiles. Well, that's a good thing then, I would imagine. Would you like to see upstairs? I could show you one of the unoccupied suites.
Absolutely.
Right this way then. And she'll lead you back up the stairs through the sort of guest bistro, if you will, and you'll find that you come out more or less in this area, like just to the side of where the front desk would have been in the lobby room, and that hall leads into the stair up to the second and third floors, and she leads you up to the third floor and into a room that has a very heavy, dark oak door on it. And a lot of the doors you'll see, the fixtures actually look older than other parts of the building. And she'll comment as she goes about how a lot of the materials that could be, even with the doors and the knobs, were reclaimed from other buildings that befitted the time, and they were hung to match. Evenly, of course, in their thresholds and all that good stuff. And then she'll point out different elements of the banisters. Again, it's a very scrolled, old-style banister. And all of the spindles are, again, carved in the same sort of spiral-type pattern. And that there's plaster molding all along the ceilings. And you'll see here, and at this point it strikes you that much of the flower arrangements, while they are varied, there are quite a few magnolias spread throughout the building, and the flowers inside, or excuse me, the plasterwork where there are carvings about those there, the rooms have medallions in the ceilings that are also carved with flowers, and they all feature heavily the magnolia specifically. And then as she pauses in front of one door in particular, she says, "This is what we call the Emerald Suite, as I'm sure you'll understand." And she opens the door and leads you into this.
I am expecting everything to be blue.
into this room down here. And immediately across from the door to the right is the bed, which is a very large king-size 4-poster with matching nightstands. And then all of the chairs are sort of ochre and cream with gold, which looks nicer mostly than it would sound otherwise. And the curtains are a very deep, heavy emerald with gold tassel and white, not valances, but the inner curtains are white sheer, but they're sort of scalloped and layered. And there are matching dark wood carved armoires, his and hers, on at the end of the room. And then over here on the other side of the bed, you can see that there is a doorway leading into an ensuite washroom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I would like to, without it seeming like he is, I would like to roll investigation to see if there's anything. I I don't know how to describe it. I'm not looking for something that's off. Like I'm not looking for a blemish.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you understand what I'm getting at. He's looking for something that's out of place in a particular way.
Well,
I don't. I'm not explaining it in a good way.
Just go ahead and roll.
Yeah, but he's not trying to. He's not trying to make it seem like he is, because he doesn't want to, just duck under the bed and search fucking everything. Just so, would that be a higher difficulty?
I don't really know what you're looking for, so I can't say.
Honestly, I don't know what I'm looking for either. Whatever there is to find.
Yep. Which is why I just say go ahead and roll it, and then if you happen to get high enough for any of the things that I do know about to make sense, then you'll get something. If not,
Cool. All right. So is this a int or wits investigation?
this would be. It's not research, so let's go with wits.
Okay. Okay. So not bad. 3.
Okay. You do find evidence that the cleaners go out of the way to make this place look in tip-top shape while avoiding the heavy lifting, because there is dust in places there ought not be dust. And there are places where some light damage to the furniture has been quite cleverly hidden by certain, what's the word? Yeah.
Sorry, you cut out there. Certain what?
Like fraying or tearing on some of the upholstery of the furniture has been quite cleverly hidden or managed with some, not expert because it doesn't blend in, but still good quality repair work to prevent it from fraying further. And there is a tile in the bathroom that is cracked, but nothing odd.
So nothing like what he's specifically looking for.
Right.
Then yeah. He will just after walking around, observing, smiling, he'll walk back in and say, "Well, this is a gorgeous room. How much would it be to stay here for a night in this room specifically?"
I just say, in this room, 300.
Oh, do you have more expensive rooms?
We do have two suites, the queen suite and the king. The queen is somewhat smaller. The king has 2 adjoining bedrooms. Those together take up the remainder of this floor, besides just what's here on the front part of the building.
I see. Do you have many recurring customers? Maybe somebody who reserves a specific suite?
And
And he means like not just reserves ahead of time. I mean like only I get to use this because I come here all the time, kind of thing.
she pauses. I can't say that we do, and even if we did, I would not be at liberty to discuss our clientele.
Of course. I'm sorry. My apologies. My curiosity got the better of me.
And she nods.
What? Well, is there much more? Please say there is. I could do this all night.
And she'll say, unfortunately, no, there are only the 3 floors, and the rooms on the second floor are, while there are many more of them, they are more themed rooms, and they are more cost sensitive, I suppose you might say, for those who don't entirely want to go all out, I suppose you might say. But they look much the same, except that some of them have some murals on the wall that are more jazz or street festivals, things like that. And the furniture in those rooms are not as, they're not the antiques that we typically use in the older rooms on the upper floor.
Oh, you certainly have to put a lot of trust into your clientele, especially with all these. Sorry, I'm blanking on the word. You just fucking said it, too.
Antiques?
Thank you. Especially with all these antiques. I'd imagine it'd be rather serious if anyone decided to break anything.
And she nods. And she says it would be unfortunate if someone did, but yes, I would imagine all hotels expect their visitors to respect the property.
Yes, but not all hotels play such care into providing, well, accommodations worthy of royalty.
And she smiles and she'll say, no, but any institution of quality expects clients of quality. And she says that like it's a tagline she's heard a million times, even if it's not the one she would have used herself. But here we are.
If this had gone a little bit differently, he would be one of those ones of questionable quality.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll nod and say, well, this has been an absolute pleasure. It's awe-inspiring, everything that you've accomplished here and everything that the owners have accomplished here. Speaking of, is there any chance I could get the opportunity to speak with one?
Aaron, you still there? Hello? Okay, so since you cut out, I think you were asking if there's any chance that you could speak with the owner?
Yeah.
And she will dip her head and say, as I said before, I will pass on your offer, and someone will be in touch to arrange a meeting if she would like to pursue it. If you wanted to speak with her personally, you could make that request, and that can be passed along to her as well.
I would absolutely love the pleasure.
And she nods.
And he's just going to, offer smiles all day.
Yep, and she nods.
He's trying to be the most charming he fucking can be.
And she's gonna say, I will be sure to pass that along as well.
Well, I'm sorry to have. Well, no, I'm actually not sorry to have taken up so much of your time. This has been an absolute delight. But there's just. There's so much. I'm going to have to write an entire book to describe what I've seen here tonight.
And She nods with, again, a smile, but you get the idea that she is doing her utmost to be as hospitable as is required in this scenario, since she did indulge you, but she is ready for this to be over.
Oh yeah, and he'll say, catching that. But I've taken up too much of your time. Um, why don't we adjourn to the entryway and you can see me off?
She nods, as you will, and she'll lead you out of the room and back down to the lobby, or back in that direction, passing again coming down the stairwell and passing the entrance to the guest kitchen. And I would like you to roll me perception.
Abso-fucking-lutely. Alright, wits alertness. I need to buy up my fucking skills. You know what? Yeah, I'll spend a willpower.
Yep.
As it turns out, I didn't need to spend that willpower. Jesus.
As it turns
Fuck.
out. Yeah.
I don't suppose I could retroactively take that willpower back.
No. Done deal. But so
You have paid the ferryman.
Yep,
Go.
pretty much. So as you pass the entrance into the guest kitchen after you get to the bottom of the stairwell, you notice as you look back into it that there is a woman dressed in again a black dress, long sleeves, not quite lacy but a bit frilled, like there's gossamer or some other material around the cuffs and the hem. She's got medium brown skin with short hair that is tapered into different points along her scalp, and she is watching you with an even curious gaze. And when your eyes alight upon her, you instinctively react with the very specific thrum of reacting to meeting one of your own kind.
Oh, okay. And she's in the entryway, you said?
She is in the guest kitchen at the back, closer to the entrance out onto the veranda, but she is deliberately looking through the doorway in your direction.
Yeah, and the second his eyes catch upon her and their eyes meet, he just freezes mid-step. And just stares for a moment.
And Evelyn, who is expecting you to follow her and realizes that you're not, turns back at your sudden shocked frozen state, and she says, is everything all right?
And he's going to take another moment and say, yes, of course. Still just kind of flicking his eyes back to this woman, but can't exactly be obvious about this shit. But he'll turn and look at her. Apologies, just had a little bit of a brainstorm. Froze me in my tracks.
All right. Well, very well. She just smiles with the all right then that I have to smile kind of look on her face. And then she sort of gives that right this way gesture, like towards the door.
Yeah, and he'll start walking. And Carver's like, nope, I need to go back and talk to her. I need to find a way to get myself back in here. But he'll go. He'll fucking go.
And she will open the door for you and bid you good night.
Yeah. And he will... and he will say, "Good night, Evelyn. It was absolutely my pleasure." And he'll make his way out, just walking. He doesn't go to his bike. He just keeps walking,
Yep.
keeps
And the
walking.
doors close behind you, and you reach the side of the building where the entrance back towards the restaurant and the back veranda is.
Yeah. I'm gonna need to ask a question. Are any of these doors currently open?
Mm, the gateway to the back veranda is not locked, and it looks like the restaurant's open for business, yes.
Sweet. Is there anyone around?
Um, there is a couple that looks to be coming out of a very late dinner that are about to exit from around the corner of the restaurant.
Are they looking at him?
Not directly, no. They're laughing about something.
Okay, then yeah. He's just going to keep walking until he passes from their direct line of sight, so they can't see him.
Mm-hmm.
Just calm, pleasant as can be. And the second he's out of sight line of them and hopefully anyone else, unseen presence.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And he is well, I'm assuming that the restaurant doesn't keep its doors open, so he'd have to open the door and go inside.
Yeah. It's too cool outside still for them to have the doors open.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's going to open the door to the restaurant and walk inside, just doing his very best to keep out of everyone's way, keep a good distance away from everyone else, and make his way back up through the hotel to get to this auxiliary kitchen where this tall, dark, and handsome is,
She is
or was.
now leaning quite visibly in the doorway of the entrance out onto the back veranda from the guest kitchen, like she's expecting someone.
Yeah, I think we know who that someone is.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to walk out and make sure that he's outside and then clear view before it dissipates the unseen presence.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just standing there, neutral. He's doing his best to not appear to be a threat, And the manner he had adopted when he was talking with Evelyn is just completely gone. That kind of fopping, overly saturated, pleasant man is just gone, and he's back to his normal self.
Alright. Well, as he appears there, she just looks at you deadpan for a long, drawn out, uncomfortable moment before saying, "Why are you at my hotel?"
And he'll lift his hands up in a sort of neutral, passive gesture. I'm not here to cause trouble. I promise. I'm looking for somebody, and it's not in a hostile manner.
I see. And who exactly do you happen to be looking for?
The previous owner of this land, Eden.
She's gonna give you a very arched eyebrow. And she'll say, "Well, I went to quite a lot of trouble to keep her off of this land, so you're not going to find her here."
I got the distinct impression, but I had no other leads to pursue, so I came here.
"So you came here. All right, she's not here. Now leave."
Well, maybe we can come to some sort of compromise. I understand that she's not here, and I promise you, I'm not here to instigate any conflict or cause trouble.
You come here looking for someone you consider to be the proprietor, or whatever the hell you want to call this, unannounced, on a place that is mine, and you say you are not here to cause trouble. I do not believe you, and I do not want you here.
I understand that, and if there are formalities that I've failed to observe, you have my apologies. But I didn't know that this was a location claimed by one of our kind.
She sniffs, and she says, if you had bothered to ask anyone, I'm sure you could have been told.
I'm sure, but if I went to ask about it, then everybody would know I was looking into this.
And she'll sigh, very irritated with the logical statement you've said. And she'll say, what do you want? The person you're looking for is not here. What else could you possibly want of me?
Well, you obviously know her. If you can just give me a direction to go to look in so that I could find her, then I will leave and you will never see me darkening your doorstep again.
I do not keep track of that. Hang on, I gotta think of what the hell she's gonna say. She'll say, Eden's whereabouts are not my problem. I do not have reason to know where she is at this moment. She likes... she'll say... No, she wouldn't say that. She'd just say, and I have no reason to help you.
Then maybe there's something I can do for you so that you might have a reason to. Quid pro quo.
And her eyes will narrow at you. Exactly what trick are you playing at?
There's no trick. I am being completely forthright with my intentions. All I want is to find Eden. I have no hostile intentions towards you or anyone else that you might be connected to. This is not a trick. This is not a trap. And if you know that sorry, he wouldn't say you know. And if you thought for a moment that this could be, you would have killed me the second I stepped out of that door. Or made sure that I couldn't do anything to harm you. The fact that I'm here means that part of you is sure that, one, I cannot harm you, and two, I don't want to harm you. And if even there was a capability for one or the other...
Shut up. What I am sure of is that whatever you are, is it more trouble than it is worth. So, if you want this, I will answer 3 questions about this Eden you're looking for. And you will do exactly what I say. I will return with my requirement momentarily. Stay here.
As you wish.
And then she will disappear inside and seemingly go.
Victory! I annoyed them into submitting.
And she will disappear again inside, but you don't quite manage to see from your line of sight where she goes somewhere back into the kitchen. And then she returns a few moments later, seemingly with nothing, but her hands are behind her back. And then she tells you simply to follow her. And as she turns, she does not directly turn her back to you, but she keeps her hands out of view. It's a very casual motion, but it seems deliberate. And then indicates that you should walk around the other side of the building with her.
And he will. He's cautious, but at this point, even if he had some assurance of whether or not she had hostile intentions towards him, it wouldn't matter. He needs this.
Well, as you round the corner of the building, there is, in fact, not a anything, really. It's just a wall. It basically looks like the building butts up against a fence, more or less, towards the next building, but it's covered in ferns, or, well, actually probably more like an ivy, so that it's a wall of green, and this particular lower wall has no windows on it. So there are chairs and things, but it's pretty hidden, with no one on either end of anywhere on the porch, and the front of it that would otherwise look out onto the road is blocked off by some sort of kind of like a shutter that just sort of sits on the porch to give some privacy from the road. And she will turn towards you rather abruptly so that she is facing you, and now as she does, there is in her hand a vial with a cork top and a knife. Fill it.
She said, fill it?
Actually, yeah. It's not actually a vial, it's more like a glass jug. So, she would get a pretty large, like, basically, eyeballing it, what you guess about what a blood bag would be filled with, you feel this kind of the same thing.
Fuck, I really want to roll to see what her motivation could be for that, but that's definitely a cult roll.
Motivation is not an occult roll. Motivation is a wit's empathy.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Yep, don't need to strong arm me, Maury. Jeez, I'm rolling. Oh shit!
Roll it, roll it, roll it.
Oh. Wait.
Wait, what?
I'm rolling super dice.
Okay.
I'm not letting this go. I'm not letting this go. That was too fucking close. Okay, so super dice adds a +1 and discounts any ones, yes?
It does not add +1.
Okay.
If you...
It doesn't add +1.
Yeah, it just negates any ones in your roll.
Okay.
And if you had spent willpower on the previous roll, then you would get the benefits of that again without having to respend it.
But can I spend it on the reroll?
Yeah, you can still spend it on the reroll.
Goodbye, my last willpower. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 with the willpower and 2 10s.
Yeah.
Damn!
That sucks.
Dice gods, you betray me! Ah, man, that feels bad, but okay. Yeah, so he will take the jug and the knife, and being kind of cautious about it, he will uh, slowly, it's almost kind of hesitantly, because he's never done this before, and there's even a bit of a wince as he slices open his wrist, knowing he can heal it, and that this isn't a damaging wound to him. And he will bleed into the jug until it's full.
And she will hold that for you so that you can fill it. And then once it is, she will stopper the jug. And then she will, of course, take back the knife, and she, from somewhere in herself, she pulls from her pocket some sort of kerchief to wash it away on, or wipe it off on. And then she will tuck that away as well. And then, while holding the jug, say, in the same manner, she's addressed you in entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. Ask your 3 questions.
Okay. Now I have an interesting idea, Maury. Could I roll bestial insight to try and find at least one question he needs to ask?
You.
Like something his beast needs to know.
Yes. But do you have, like, bestial insight points? Because
Oh, fuck, that's right. I don't. It
Yeah.
takes willpower to do it normally.
Yep.
Never mind then.
Yep.
But, okay, yeah, so he'll think for a moment. Fuck, there's so many, and I have to limit them to 3. Okay. Damn, no, that's not a good one. Okay, so given what she's said, Eden is definitely alive. She doesn't have any reason to know about her whereabouts. That's not saying she's still moving, but it didn't say, and it didn't implicitly mean that she's dead either. Asking about whatever happened between them could be interesting information, but it wouldn't lead to any kind of pertinent information, or at least not towards what he's looking for. He could ask about her clan, possibly, but there's every chance that might just belie his ignorance of her, and she could lead him around. But she's essentially made a deal. For whatever reason, she wants his blood as much as he wants these questions answered. And there's still every chance this could turn into a brawl, and she'd lose whatever she wants. So she has to answer with some degree of honesty. So maybe that's not a bad thing. Yeah, okay. So his first question is going to be, What clan does Eden belong to?
And she's going to sigh. Ravnos.
She belongs to Ravnos, but I've never heard of them having a particular. No, and he's going to stop himself because he was about to ask the second question. He's just going to hold the finger like, nope, no.
She just looks at you flatly, yet with an eyebrow raised.
So she's Ravnos, which holds credence to. Wait, has he been told that he's Ravnos? I don't think he has. I don't think he has.
Well, I don't remember, point of fact, because I know there were 2 clans that were mentioned when we started rabbit trailing into that.
I think it was. Yeah, way back when. I think it was Setite and Gangrel that were mentioned.
It wasn't Gangrel because Ivy didn't know what clan she was. So I think it was Ravnos and Setite because those are the only 2 things you guys talked about that were giveaways. Because nothing Susanna or Ivy had done at that point was obvious, except Ivy's red eyes, and that wasn't brought up.
Right, okay. So, her being Ravnos holds credence to what he knows of his own abilities, even though there's some kind of difference between them.
Yeah.
But then there's still the question. There's still so many questions. But he needs to narrow them down to something important. If you're listening to this and you're laughing at me because you thought up the perfect question, go fuck yourself.
That's not why I'm laughing at you.
After he'll actually start speaking now. After you won this location from Eden, however you did that. What?
I took this location.
After you took this location. Did she take other territory? Did she set up somewhere else where she can be found easily?
She sighs. She did, and took great pains to keep it hidden. I believe her Lasombra friend offered some assistance in that regard.
Sombra.
Lucian.
Is that a name he recognizes?
No.
Okay. And he's going to nod. That's an interesting bit of information because this means that there's 2 people of very different clans from Ravnos that have relevant connection to Eden. A Lasombra named Lucian and a Setite named Balthazar.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're not friends, it is relevant to know that her cadre of friends don't extend to what I know to be traditional alliances between kindred. So out of character knowledge, that's cool information. To Carver, that means nothing because he hadn't heard the name Lasombra before tonight. So, but that's 2 questions down. He needs to make this third one an important one. It needs to be something good, something that can give him relevant, pertinent information. What could do that? Well, we know about her friends. And we know that this woman is an enemy. Or at least was an enemy. At the very least, she's antagonistic towards Eden. But we don't know if there are any other dangers around her. And if she took specific pains to keep her new territory hidden, that kind of implies that she's keeping it hidden so it doesn't get taken from her again. Or at the very least, it means that that more than one somebody, either might be out for her blood. So, my third question is going to be, does Eden have any enemies that you know of? Reasons as to why, people that would serve as reasons as to why she took such pains to keep her new location hidden.
And she's going to look at you like you've missed something obvious. And she's going to say, aside from myself, I am sure she has irritated a great many of her fellows. As for keeping her haven hidden, that is obvious good reason for any kindred. But she took specific pains to hide it from me, as I took her former haven.
Yeah. I was operating on Carver's wavelength. I completely overlooked that.
Yep.
Fuck. Oh well.
And I gotta think for a second.
Carver slowly reaches down to the bottle of pure fucking sunlight in his pocket, because that's something he absolutely has, people. Absolutely.
Yeah, Yep. She's gonna say, and regarding specifics, she is frequently at odds with the masquerade keeper, Siobhan.
Does he know that name?
No, I don't believe he does. Because the only other person that does has not mentioned it to anybody yet.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Ivy.
Yeah, actually, that's Susanna.
That was my second guess. But he's going to nod and say, well, 2 out of 3 isn't bad. And for my last question, if you are willing to give it, I would like to know your name.
You already asked 3 questions.
3 questions about Eden, yes.
Yeah, okay. I was just like, alright, making sure that was we were on the same page there. So when you ask her that, she'll just keep staring back at you for a long time, deciding whether or not she wants to give it. And she's just going to stare back at you and say, no, I don't think I shall give you that.
As you wish. Am I allowed to leave now?
And for the first time since you got there, she is going to smirk. Only kind of fucking expression she's given you besides deadpan and raised eyebrows. And she's going to say,
Yeah, I had no disillusions. If he tried to leave before now, or before she got whatever she wanted from him, or learned why he was there, like if he just full on left, probably would have been fine. If he tried after talking to her, he would have gotten staked or something.
So she is going to tell you, yes, you may scurry away now, young one.
And I will do that just like the little rat I am. And he's going to immediately turn on his heels and start speed walking away.
He doesn't even... Okay, I kind of thought he might be a little picked by that, but alright, okay. Yep.
Nah, Carver knows when to pick his fights, and this is not a fight he can pick.
That's fair. You cards are not in your favor on that one.
Nah, I got one chance of snoozing her, and all it'll do is just piss her off.
Yeah. So, alright. There you go.
So yeah, he's leaving.
Yep. Alright. Anything else as he leaves?
Yeah, I'm gonna spray paint the walls an ugly yellow.
I meant more of like, was there something else he had in mind, or is he just gonna kind of head back? Well, that's all he probably has time to do for right now. But
Yeah, nah, he's gotten what he wanted here and more. So all he can really do is just head back, or at the very. And to be honest, him staying here is probably a bad option.
probably, yeah. She does watch you as you get to the end of that side of the porch until you leave. And then, uh, of course, she doesn't come out visibly with the freaking container of blood, but that's stowed away as she re-enters. The people would probably just think it's a really weird wine, but all right. And I will tell you, since she is now in your journal, that her name is Tama. It's pronounced
Tama.
Yeah, it's pronounced Tama, but it's spelled with like if you look at it on paper, it looks like Thema, but it's Tama is how it's pronounced.
Cool.
Yep, Carver does not know that, of course, but
Nope, no, he does not.
yes.
But if you're okay with it, there is something else that he wants to do as he's getting the fuck out of here.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
not as he's getting the fuck out, like after he's left.
Okay, yeah.
He got Carson's phone number.
He did get Carson's phone number, that's true. Well, technically,
I want
Ivy
him to
got
call
Carson's
her.
phone number, but I figure you guys all have it from that, so yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'm gonna call her.
I don't remember, but she would have. Oh, right, yes, you can have it. Call Carson.
Yes, he's calling Carson. Beep, 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 beep. Ring, ring.
It does not ring immediately, but when it does, it's kind of abrupt. Hello?
Carson, hi. This is Carver. We met the other night.
Ah, right, yeah. What's up?
Is this a bad time?
Um, And you're gonna hear some sort of general, like, growling, howling in the background, and she'll say, kind of busy, but I answered, what the fuck do you want?
Well, you're the only person that I really know in the city right now, and I'm honestly going out on a limb here. I found out more information on Eden, and I wanted to talk about it with you. Can I meet you somewhere?
Shit, yeah. And there's just gonna be like a very sudden growl and something wet and crunchy, and then more yelping. And
Are you okay?
yes,
Where are you?
I am fine, Carver. I will text you. And then click.
I know things. I know things. But he just stared at the phone like, what the fuck was that? But he just stared at his phone, waiting for the text, like, it'll happen.
Yep.
A watch pot never boils, but this one will.
Yep. As she texts you like 30 minutes later.
Okay, what does this bitch text?
She just says, fuck, that's a good question. What does she tell you? Where does she tell you to go? She...
Please let it be. Please let it be where she is. Please let it be where she is. Please let it be where she is.
It's gonna be where she's at. She's just gonna tell you to meet her back up at the Inferno.
Okay, yeah. He would go.
And, she will show up.
Hopefully without Twink there this time. That would end badly. Oh no, what have I done? What have I done? People, what have I done? Word to the wise, never give your DM ideas. They will use them.
Ow. Okay. Well, shit. Okay. So yeah, you're gonna end up back at the Inferno.
Yeah, it is.
And uh, I take it when he gets there, he just heads back towards like the ring area.
Yeah. Oh, hey, look who it is. Yeah, he knows where to go.
Yep.
Hey, Reagan.
Well, they were all there before. I just hadn't cleared off the tokens.
Hi, Gigi. Hi, Ivy. What are you doing here?
And so she doesn't actually would she talk to you inside here? This is where she would meet you because it's where she's figuring you're gonna expect to find her. So she'll be in
Yeah.
here with whoever the fuck, and there are other people here tonight, but I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have them on screen. So when you show up, she's just gonna nod, and she is going to tell you to just follow her out.
And he will.
And when you get out, she just keeps walking. Like, not anywhere inside the Inferno. She just walks right back out onto a fucking motorcycle and just says, "Follow me."
And again, he will. He's gone out on a limb here. He can. There's only so much he can do researching on his own, and he's kind of hit the limit of that. Right now, what he needs is a kindred who's been here and knows the facts. And the only one that he sort of kind of trusts to do that, and also the only one whose phone number he has, is Carson, because he's not calling Nico, aside from the fact that Emmy isn't here.
Yeah. Well, and she is gonna lead you to some place, not like, it's more on the edges of town. Looks like a place that was kind of still banged up and never really repaired.
Right.
And it just seems to be like a place she goes to like she knows it. And
Right.
she
Okay.
kind of hides the bikes out of view from the road. And then,
Oh, she rides a motorcycle too?
yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And then
The beginnings of Carver's biker gang.
and she is going to kind of kick in a wooden gate that seems to lead into like one of those. Think of the house as kind of like, when you get into it, it's basically, there's an alley and then there's this gate, and it's comes into a courtyard with the house being a U shape. On the outside of the U shape, the widest part faces a road, and the northernmost short edge does, but the southernmost short edge would face like kind of onto another alley or out towards the next building. And then all the inward parts of it you can see here with like a balcony and whatnot. And
Yeah.
there are stools and shit just pulled up there. And she says, she just pulls one up and sits down and gestures for you to do the same.
Yeah, and he will.
And she kicks back her feet as she does, and she says, "This place is called the Meat." She shrugs. If you go and mention that to people casually, it will very suddenly not be the meat, and you'll be missing pieces from your hide. So take that for what you will.
I will not. You're Carson, I am going out on a limb here.
As
I don't.
she's gonna hold the pen.
Oh.
Like, okay, first thing you should know, I tend to have a soft spot for you guys because I don't know why. And she says that, like, honestly, I've asked myself this a million times. But here we are. Point is, I tell you thing and you listen, and I'm not good at conversation like a normal person, so don't take it personally if I say something that pisses you off, because I'm not trying to. If I were, you would know. I promise. But
Don't take it personally if I'm a bit inept, then,
And she kind
because
of
that's a two-way street.
she's gonna kind of pull her teeth together and like, yeah, I noticed, kind of look, and say, I got the impression you were new to things. It's pretty common for new kindred on the run to wind up here because, she shrugs, closest place of any size to find answers, or because someone told them that no one on the outside would go looking once they got here. She shrugs. Whichever. Whatever. Whoever. Point is, you're here and you had to question something about Eden.
Yeah. I wasn't being entirely truthful with you the other night. I knew a few things about her from my own. And he pauses, and it's clear he's struggling not to talk, but to just reveal things. And he sits there for a minute, not entirely sure that he should, but when it comes down to it, he doesn't have another option, and he's got to start trusting someone at some point. They can't keep hidden forever, and just the fact that Carson, just the fact of everything they've observed about Carson, she's willing to help and listen, so long as you don't endanger her. Or, from what I know, Micah, yeah, do that at
That's a
your own
bad idea.
peril.
Do that at your own risk, yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have fun with that bag of fucking bees. But he's going to sigh.
She just keeps staring at you until you decide to talk.
Yeah, and he's going to. A little bit ago, a few weeks now, I asked a friend to look into something. I can't tell you what that is because it's not just my secret.
Okay. What does this have to do with Eden?
The information I got said, and I will look so I get the right wording. As soon as I fucking find it. There it is. The fiery son of the garden girl. I look forward to seeing what he does with it.
She is gonna frown with a blatant, yeah, that's weird look on her face. Okay. I gotta say, riddles aren't my particular thing, but this Eden's this garden girl, you think?
And he's going to nod.
And she'll say the obvious, deliberate irony of the name aside. She shrugs. She seems to be awfully attached to plants, from what I've heard, so I guess it fits. Mind you, I've hardly ever interacted with her. In fact, I think really just a handful of words at that. Mostly see her in passing the one or two times I've been out to the menagerie. So I don't really know what exactly you're wanting to ask me about her or how much I can tell you that's going to be useful, but she shrugs. I can try.
And he's going to nod. What I learned tonight is that Eden had a territory or something, and it was taken by a African American woman. Um, I don't know how, and to be honest, that's not really all that important. And she turned it, either she turned it into a hotel or she took advantage of that. So I went out looking, and I found her. And she gave me a couple of names.
Okay.
Or, sorry, he wouldn't say a couple of names. She gave me a name, one that you had, one added to the one that you had given me.
Okay.
Do you know a Lucian?
She's gonna frown.
He's La Sombra, whatever that means.
She nods. Yeah, he's a La Sombra. Real plays into their stereotype, kind of La Sombra. Keeps to himself or his people and doesn't venture much out from that, from what I understand. She shrugs. Again, don't have much reason to cross paths with him.
From what I learned, Eden is the exception. When she lost her haven to whoever this woman is, or not, he wouldn't say haven. When she lost her territory to whoever this woman is, Lucian helped her set up a new one, helped her hide it.
She does look kind of surprised by that. And she'll say, he doesn't really have the reputation for being the helping sort. I'm sure he makes deals like everybody else, but, again, it's one of those things about him. He just manages to keep quiet. Most people who like to keep their business quiet do dealings with the Riala, not Grazi or the Nazari.
What's the Riala? Is that one of the
It is, yes. It's the
Elysiums?
It's the one that requires memory.
Okay, so he wouldn't ask that.
Yeah.
And he'll nod. I got the feeling that deals and the like were made in the Elysiums. And he's just gonna shake his head and say, well, if you didn't know I was brand new, you do now.
And she nods. Yeah. She's gonna frown. Is your sire gonna show up here sometime soon, or did they just dump you on the edge of New Orleans and tell you to go find Eden? Or who was it that gave you that, whatever the hell that was? Because I gotta say, I'm guessing they had their reasons, but if you turn somebody, you don't
Carson.
just...
Carson. I lied to you to protect my friends. I don't have a sire.
She's with an eyebrow. Everybody has a sire, kid. We all come from somewhere. You may not know who they are, and
that's why I'm looking for Eden.
She's gonna nod. Well, actually, she doesn't nod, and for the record, when she says, you may not know who they are, she actually growls that. Like, she's staunchly in opposition to that method.
Yeah.
And she says, why does that have you looking for Eden? And she's gonna narrow her eyes like, the dots there can't be... whatever she's thinking can't be right.
Carson, I don't know what it's called, but there's some kind of ability that lets you see into another person's mind. Do you have that?
Aspects?
I guess.
And she's gonna shake her head. No.
Then let me be exceedingly blunt with you. Under the full knowledge that this doesn't just endanger me. And he's going to look at her. I have people I care about just like you do. Do you understand that?
She's gonna stare back at you and say,
This wasn't meant as a threat. This was meant as like,
yeah, I know. And she's gonna say, you honestly feel like you have to ask me that, kid?
all I know is that I was told not to tell anyone, and I can't do it.
And who exactly
I'm
told
at
you
the
not to tell anyone?
print.
And that does catch her by surprise.
Because I'm not just brand new, Carson. I was made right here in New Orleans. What has it been like 2 months? 2 months now?
Oh shit, no, it's been like, we've not been very good about timing it out, but it's been not quite a month.
Yeah. So he'd say, it's been less than a month since I woke up, Carson.
And she's gonna just.
And I wasn't staked. I wasn't in torpor. I lived here. I grew up here.
And she is going to just keep staring at you. You're serious? Dead ass not yanking my chain. Abso-motherfucking-lutely. Kill me if I'm lying. Serious.
I am. I remember everything. I was hanging out with a friend. I came home. I smelled gas. The kind of things, the kind of chemicals I work with, that is death. That kind of explosion would have taken out blocks, entire city blocks. I swear I felt the explosion. I felt the fire burn my skin. I felt the heat. I was thrown from my home. I got a concussion, and I woke up. I was bound. I was tied up and gagged. Didn't know anyone else there. All I heard were voices. None of them sounded familiar. One of them sounded almost sorry that this had to happen. Another was belligerent, and another was just impatient. But it wasn't long before we found ourselves. Sorry, he wouldn't say we, he'd say it. Before I found myself somewhere else. A bag was taken off my head. I was in some sort of church. There was chanting. It was some sort of ritual. I don't know what kind. I'm not an occult aficionado. I didn't spend my life with a foil hat on my head. I spent my life with my nose in a science book, learning chemistry. They poured blood over my face and then slit my throat. And I died. And I woke up in St. Charity's Hospital, in the morgue, surrounded by dead bodies. I didn't even know what I was. It took a lot of effort and investigation to figure that out. And I found someone else. It was happenstance, it was chance, but I found someone else. They told us what I was. They told me what I was. They introduced me to the prince. And the prince gave me a very specific warning. Do not tell anyone. And I'm breaking that right now because I need to trust somebody. I need an ally, a friend. I can't turn to anyone else.
And she gets very quiet and very still. Her eyes lock on you. Quiet as a fucking mouse. Or not quiet as a fucking mouse. I don't know why I said that. Like in a deathly focus.
Contemplating kind of silence?
Yeah, like a deadly kind of focus. The way she's honed in on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she listens to all of that. You say it, and her face is this inscrutable yet partly angry looking mask of caution. And you finish, and she just keeps staring back at you. And then she says, very abruptly, all of a sudden, she just leans back in her chair and gives the biggest fucking sigh. And she says, "You're damn right, you can't just say that to anybody. No wonder the prince told you to keep your fucking mouth shut about it. You are either completely delusional and expertly brainwashed to think this is what happened, or if it really is what happened, you, and I'm guessing you were friends, because for someone so new, you've taken up with him like a coterie, and I don't think that was an accident. So, those are the options. And if it's true, then yeah, all hell's gonna break loose when that gets out. Because everybody...
We know... Oh, sorry.
She shakes her head. No, you start saying that. She shakes her head. No, you don't know. You think you know. You think you can imagine what it's going to do. You're not even a month old, Carver. Your closest comparison to this is knowing that you can tear bodies in half when you frenzy, because I'm guessing you've at least had that particular experience at this point.
I haven't frenzied since the first night.
But you frenzied the first night.
Actually, no, he didn't frenzy. I didn't frenzy on anyone.
That's true, you didn't. Well, you frenzied on the cow. You frenzied on the cow.
Yeah, well, yeah, he frenzied on the cow. I didn't frenzy that first night. I willingly killed a man because I was hungry. It was a gnawing hunger that hollowed out my spine.
How does he sound about it when he says he willingly killed a man?
He sounds somewhat repressant. Like, there's emotion there, but he's trying to bury it, and it's not working. He killed somebody. He's never... And the only other time he's killed somebody, it racked him with grief. He killed an innocent. It's not just an innocent life, it's a life, and it goes against everything he believes in, everything that is beautiful and gorgeous, the fire, the flames. It's life and energy incarnate, and it deserves respect. And that kind of respect can only be given if you respect other forms of life. He didn't do that. He killed somebody for his own gain, even though it was necessary, even though he needed it to survive. He killed somebody for himself, and there's no other way to look at it. And it's tearing him up inside, but he's shoved it down and repressed it like he does with everything else so that he can continue moving forward. But even then, that's coming out right now. And even when he was with Jackson, he recounted the entire thing verbatim, everything that happened, everything he could remember and feasibly put a word to. He's 1 second away from bawling his eyes out right now and breaking down because somebody is listening to him without an ulterior motive, without being forced. They're listening to him, whatever their reasons are. And he's about to break down because he feels open and raw, and he hates it.
And she's gonna press her lips together, and her brow's gonna furrow, and she looks like she's thinking about something, and then she kind of stands up, but it looks a little mechanical, and then she walks over to you, and then just like kind of half cups her hand and like pats your shoulder. And she just says, "It's okay, kid, it's okay."
I need answers.
And
I need to know why the Sabbat did this. I need to know why they chose us. I need to know who. I need to know everything. And if I don't like the answers, I don't know what I'm going to do. But every instinct inside of me is growling and snarling and wanting to burn it all to the ground.
And she's gonna sigh, and her hand pulls away from your shoulder, and you can see that she turns back to you kind of sharply with her arms crossed, and she sighs again very heavily. "All right, I get it. I hear you. This sucks. It's awful." And she's saying that she means that
This sucks. The best description of what happened ever.
It sucks. It's awful. You went through a lot of pain. You've done terrible shit you never expected you would have to do. It's bad. Noted. And she says that, like, "I hear you, I agree with you, it is." And she does sympathize. But you can also tell, again, like she told you, this is not her strong suit. But in addition to that, there's a significant practicality that is taking reign in her here. And she says, "But you've got to figure out how to deal with this despite the fucked up mess that you are on the inside about it. And I know you know that. But this is also my way of telling you I am here to hear you out, but please don't start crying on me, for one." And then she goes and sits back down where she was across from you.
Carson, the mom. And he's going to just nod. I'm
Go ahead.
not that far gone. I'm just
Overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed and stressed the fuck out. Obviously.
that's a good word for it, yeah.
And she'll say, "And waking up with things is crazy enough on its own without having someone there to show you the ropes, much less waking up without that in a place where everyone else would kill to be able to create whatever the fuck you are." So, fuck me. And she just has the look of like,
the world has been dropped over her head yet
No,
again.
it's like, what the fuck did I walk into this time? And
Yeah, the world cracked an egg over her head.
yeah, and yeah, the look of someone who's just been told the world is ending and what the hell do I do about it? she props like she's leaning like she's cockeyed at an angle in her chair with her right elbow propped up on the arm of the chair and her like thumb below her chin and her index finger up along her cheek, and you just see her staring at some place in the cracked cobbling of the courtyard with her lips tightening, relaxing, tightening, relaxing. And then she just abruptly says, "Fuck me," and sets up. Okay, so to recap all of this, you and your friends are complete and utter fresh from the embrace or whatever the hell happened to you fledglings. You don't have sires, you have no idea what the fuck is really going on and only halfway understand how to navigate kindred society. You're from New Orleans and woke up here and have somehow bumbled your way into finding other people who told you enough to not get yourselves killed and how to find other people to talk to, and that's it.
Pretty much. And we've probably pissed off the Giovanni quite a lot.
Oh, okay. How?
Do you know a name? Do you know somebody named Shiloh?
And she's gonna shake her head no. Since you spilled your guts to me, I think at this point it's a little bit fair that I tell you I'm not from here.
Yeah. Apparently Shiloh is the last remaining childer of the previous Giovanni Primogen, whatever that means.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
we accidentally stumbled across her and woke her up.
of course she is, and of course
When
you did. How the fuck did you manage that?
we had let me just say that I have some rather weird friends, and or yeah, and I was able to track down where the bodies of that night, the night we woke up, had gone to. It went to a hospital
No,
before they were
that's
shipped
not what
out.
happened.
Oh, it's not?
No, you were looking for them, but you found fuck all there except the lady
Well,
that.
no. No, I know. Just let me keep going. It makes more sense. It makes more sense as he goes.
I okay, but that's still factually incorrect.
Uh, okay, here. He'll say, we'd, Susanna and I had gone to the hospital, and she asked me to look into the morgue to see if there was anything. Because those bodies weren't there. So they had to have gone somewhere. Somebody had to have taken care of them. So I got lucky. There was a girl working in the morgue, and she's I don't know. Have ghouls been explained yet? I don't remember.
Uh, yeah, but not to Carver.
Wonderful. But I got lucky. While I was there, I can make myself go around without being seen if I want. I can make things appear that couldn't possibly exist. I can
Okay,
apparently was
the first one is obfuscate. The second one is called chemistry.
oh, so they do have names. Wonderful.
Yeah.
But so I was able to use a combination of the two to essentially get her phone because she got a call while I was there and talked about a delivery, and the look on her face was like she was talking to her high school sweetheart. It was absolute adoration.
Yeah,
And
probably blood bonded to fuck, and yeah, probably one of their
um,
goals.
what's What's a blood bond? And what's a ghoul?
You really don't know shit. Okay, blood bonds. If someone drinks your blood, they tend to get bonded to you. If it's a human, virtual guarantee. If it's a kindred, a young one, pretty good odds depending on how much they drink. Older the kindred is, less likely they're going to get blood bonded, but at a certain point, turns out elders can only feed on other kindred, so eventually they need it. And she shrugs. Blood bonds are really good for us, not so great for the other team, depending on your outlook. It makes them enamored with you, obsessed with you, love you, some very complicated something towards you. I personally don't like fucking with it because it's a lot of, well, okay, I say I don't like fucking with it. I have to, because at a certain point you just realize that you can't get around things if you don't have someone to help you out. But it's a pain in the ass. Ghouls end up fully blood bonded. The more times you drink from somebody, the stronger the feeling gets until it wears off, unless it becomes permanent. And if it becomes permanent, then maybe eventually, a century later, it wears off. Or someone finds some sort of terrible thing to get rid of it, usually killing the person involved. Not your first go-to choice, depending on how invested you are in the other person. Ghouls, because they have to feed from the kindred that made them, end up permanently blood bonded, and, well, the Giovanni help keep masquerade breaches out of the news by basically playing cleanup duty. They get free bodies. The prince doesn't have to make up excuses for why exsanguinated corpses are found everywhere.
Which means that either the Giovanni were complicit in what happened or were tipped off because somebody lied about something.
And she's gonna shrug. I don't know, Carver. There's a lot of fucking hospitals in New Orleans, or more than one anyway. Why are you so convinced bodies would have gone there? Plus,
I wasn't. It was luck.
okay,
When she picked up that phone, she talked about delivery. And when I got her phone, we were able to track the number of the call. And it led us to a guy named, fuck, I can never remember his name.
Gian Vera.
Thank you. To Gian Vera.
She's just gonna
And it,
frown like, great, and there's like a low-throated growl that comes with that.
literally everything he says is making her more depressed. I love it. And we tracked that number to a warehouse. So we went to go investigate. It was a distribution center for coffins. It's kind of weird because they have all kinds of different inventory numbers for the different for different types of coffins, different materials, but there's one that is always the same number,
Just
same type.
Just get to the part that matters.
We found Shiloh in a bricked up room in the basement. She was in some sort of sarcophagus. There was a stake in her heart. She appeared to us as a ghost.
That's another Auspex thing.
Yeah. Oh. after we found her, we couldn't just leave her there, so we took her out.
Okay, and did Giovanni know you broke her out?
Shiloh. Sorry. Shiloh has no memory. Carson, she doesn't remember who she is or what she is.
And look on her face is an immediate ouch. And she's going to give a visible wince.
Yeah, so when we brought her to an Elysium the other night, someone with the Giovanni had been there and recognized her.
You
We got unlucky.
You took a kindred you stole from a Giovanni, whatever the fuck, into Elysium, but she has no idea who the hell she is.
Yeah, in hindsight, it was a bad idea, but at the time we didn't have anything else to go on.
And
Everything always looks smarter or dumber in hindsight.
yeah, hindsight 2020, all that, and her jaw's just hanging open with a persistent ugh kind of look. And she says, "Holy shit." Okay. So, in addition to everything else I said, you've also pissed off Clan Giovanni because whatever the hell they know about this Shiloh, she knows next to nothing, and they know that you're with her and that she's vanished from a place she shouldn't have vanished from. And this is public knowledge because you went to a fucking Elysium.
Yeah, that's about some of it. Thankfully, we were able to. Thankfully, we found some Bruja who knew her, and they were able to answer a lot of our questions.
Yeah, well, they're not exactly fans of the Giovanni, so I'm pretty sure they were keen to jump on any sort of train that would lead to fuck Giovanni Town. So, okay. I left Chicago to get away from this sort of level of bullshit.
You were in Chicago?
Yeah, I was.
Oh.
We were.
You and Micah or Ezra?
She shakes her head, just Micah. We met Ezra here. He's new to town too, so at this point Micah and I have been here for a few decades, but she'll shake her head. Okay. I'm gonna be straight with you. There are a lot of complications with this, which I'm sure you were able to make out. But
it was kind of obvious from day one, yeah.
Yeah, except you don't have any way of conceiving exactly how the details of how bad it actually is, and how 100% possible it is that this could just get all of you and anybody else that knows about it killed. Jezebel wasn't lying when she told you that it wouldn't be a good idea to bandy it about, and I am now suddenly half regretting answering your phone call. But
phones are kind of overrated. I've learned to hate mine with a passion.
And she's just gonna stare at you like, obviously that wasn't the point. But she says, going to tell you one thing, Carver. And of all of the things that I will tell you after, or whatever the hell, however the hell my whatever I do to help you with this plays out, you need to remember this.
And he's nodding. Okay.
If anything whatso fucking ever about this gets Micah hurt or killed, I will tear you in half myself. Are we clear?
Hi, Gangrel. But he's going to nod. I understand. I do. And I'm not trying to ask for your help in leading a revolution or fighting the Giovanni. I don't know what else to do.
I get that. But you need to understand, even the things you choose to tell people, even if they don't do anything with it, can still be putting a target on their back. Because the reality is, the prince not saying something is one thing, and would be bad enough, because everyone would assume that she's either deliberately covering for some favorites who've somehow been able to embrace, or it's another one of those insurrections that she's trying to keep on the down low, and her own people will box someone or actually kill them to keep it quiet. So, is there anybody else at all at this point that might have any fucking clue about just this little detail about you and your friends?
The two kindred we met, the first ones we met, they know. They were the ones that introduced us to the prince. Emery and Catherine.
She'll frown. The scared one. She doesn't look terribly happy about that. Okay. Anybody else?
Not so far as kindred.
Good. Try to keep it that way. So, now that the cat's out of the fucking bag, this sounds like you think, for some reason, you're connected to Eden.
I can't give you all the details, but I know somebody who's odd. And they did some sort of ritual called a spirit or something. A Loa, I think they called them.
She's gonna wrinkle her nose. Yep, that's the term for them.
And that message, the fiery child of the garden mother.
So
that was from them. That was my first clue.
This friend, they have a heartbeat.
I'm kind of hesitant to say yes because I think you'll hit me if I do.
And she's gonna sigh. And she'll say,
What I do know is that they are known to the prince and that they have some sort of arrangement. They knew about kindred before I came to them.
Her head. I highly doubt they have an arrangement. More like they're just tolerated because there are humans that know about supernatural bullshit because they are supernatural bullshit. And these sound like they fall in that box. So, one problem at a time. Pandora.
That's a good name for him.
Yeah.
Carver Pandora. No, Pandora Carver. There you go.
But
he will wince at that. Like, he understands what happened and what he's done, and he doesn't exactly like it. But again, he had no choice at this point.
she's gonna say, well, she's gonna shrug. I don't know. Either running a risk either way, because if she doesn't want to be outed, or this was somehow some sort of colossal fucking accident, she could just as easily react negatively to you calling her out, showing up. Or she may not. She shrugs. Can tell you she hasn't been seen at the menagerie for a while, though.
And he'll nod. If I want to find her, unless I want to start turning over every stone in New Orleans, I'm going to have to find either Lucien or Balthazar and somehow convince them without telling them anything that I need to see her.
Winkler knows. Balthazar hasn't. He hangs out at the menagerie too sometimes. He hasn't been around either. Because she's gonna frown, like, I hate that I'm saying this. I went and asked about it afterwards anyway. But she shrugs. I have no idea other than what I said about the Riala for Lucien, so.
Well, I'm not sure if we were accidents. You know about Loa, so maybe you might have some experience with this kind of thing.
She's gonna shake her head. Well, you go ahead.
From what I remember of the ritual and what was explained to us, we were offerings or something to a mother. It wasn't all that clear to me, and I don't remember the specifics.
You mentioned you think this was the Sabbat.
And he'll nod.
And she'll shrug.
Catherine certainly seemed to think so.
I mean, it was ritual sacrifice. That's kind of up their alley, but... And she'll shrug. There are far more Sabbat members that show up at the menagerie than anywhere else. As far as Elysium goes, it's not a bad guess. She shrugs, but I don't, and anyone who has their senses about them doesn't go poking their nose in Sabbat shit unless they're trying to join. And even then, I would argue they're not exactly about their senses. Or rather, she would have said, possessed of their faculties. This is how she would have put it.
And he'll nod. Oh, well, I'm just glad I started looking into Eden instead of what some of the other things Bartholomew talked about. Some sort of plant gangrel thing, Irish.
You mean Dante?
And then Dante, sorry. Yeah. Some sort of plant Irish gangrel thing, and somebody named Arsis, who was apparently a cult.
And she's just gonna instantly say, fuck Arsis.
Yeah, he's gonna like, yeah, that is the exact words of Dante. Verbatim.
And she's gonna nod with good fucking reason. Okay, so you've got, the way I see it, two plays. long shot, and longer shot. Long shot is... Okay, I guess 3 choices. Long shot number 1, you keep digging around till you find some sort of way of getting into contact with Eden or coax her into responding to you. Hopefully without getting into more shit than you can handle yourself. Or 2, you can find a kindred who can communicate with the Loa and see if they'll talk to them for you. And if they can, which this is doubtful because they don't necessarily like giving direct answers, give you any more information about that little riddle the first one offered.
Yeah, the one I met seemed to be a bit more fond of cigars and drinking and dancing.
Most of them are, but yeah. At least she's gonna pause. That's the impression I got. Not that I'm... And she kind of calls her out. Not that I'm judging. Like, she deliberately looks up at the air with her hands out. But, longer shot. Has anyone tried to explain blood sympathy to you?
No, I've never heard that before.
And she's gonna nod. Well, see, one of the things about being kindred is that you're tied to the people that came before you, the one that made you. And the ones that are close in your bloodline, you can feel them. Some people can feel their whole clan. And she says that like, oh God, that would be awful. But most of the time, you don't notice it unless you're trying to. But when shit hits the fan, you either end up with someone who... She shrugs. If you die or are put into torpor, that's like being dead, but not entirely for us. Or even if you're severely, in some cases, wounded or in some sort of spiritual or emotional distress, sometimes that can ripple out in waves to the people you're related to, and they can feel it. But it's a two-way street.
If I try to feel them, they'll definitely know I'm around.
And yeah, that's one way to put it. But that's if you send a message to them. You could also try to sense them. But you're young and you don't even know if the person that made you is really her or somebody else.
And whoever shows up might not. So whoever shows up might not be Eden, and it might not even be related to a sire. It could just be somebody sent to cover tracks because we might be an accident, like you said.
She nods.
Something that's not supposed to be around.
She nods. That's assuming anybody even shows up. It's not always successful. They may not feel anything, or they may just decide, if they don't want to acknowledge it, that the best course is to not react.
How do you do this blood sympathy?
She'll like actually blow air out of her mouth and say, well, honest answer, she shrugs. it took me a while to get the hang of it, personally. Most of what I sent through sympathy was because I was on the losing end of a frenzy fight or two or a dozen. So deliberately doing it is more of an intense concentration. You have to get in touch with yourself and then really feel your blood, who and what you are, and then try to stretch beyond that. So you could try to send out ripples in the stream, like a broadcast, or you could try and just see if there's something on the other end.
But if no matter what I try, there's every risk that whatever I do might be felt by the other side, and they might come looking, they might not.
She nods.
Well, there's a risk no matter what I do. If I go to an Elysium and I start asking around to Lucian or Balthazar, I'm going to have to give up something or come up with a very convincing lie, which I don't have. And that tells them this guy needs to talk to Eden. And that's only if they're still around, if they're around. And if they're not, I might have to ask someone else to get in contact with them, which is another risk because they might get curious about what I'm asking about, why I'm asking about them. Somebody who's never been
It's
seen
a
in a
whole
laser.
complicated spider's web. Yeah, I got it. Yes.
Right now, I think the safest method is this blood sympathy, if I can make it work.
And she nods.
Probably not a good idea to do it right here, though. I'm just saying.
She's gonna nod again. Probably not. Also, you're gonna want to maybe think things over a bit more before you just go and do the thing.
I'm going to, and I'll talk with my friend.
She nods. Good. And as far as your friend's concerned, I don't know this shit.
Until not.
As far as terms like what we call the things we can do, blood sympathy or whatever, she'll shrug. I don't mind telling you about that. I'm introducing Ivy to Krogan. She's probably going to hear about a bunch of that from me too if she asks questions. And she says that, like, that's what I signed up for. But
Ivy's not the most sociable person. She kind of tends to be a bit of a wallflower.
I noticed that.
Haha! Pun.
Just say, not always the worst thing in the world.
No, it's not.
But okay, kid, this has been more enlightening than I bargained for. But yeah, I think we should make ourselves scarce, and you can go and do whatever you need to do.
I will probably go back home, try to make a new bit of fireworks, and then panic over what is now an existential crisis.
Yeah, well, there a real bitch when you're dead.
Yeah, there's no live and let learn. It's you're dead. Figure it out.
Pretty much.
Well, Carson, thank you for listening, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep your name out of the mud and to protect you and Micah.
And she nods. For all your
And
sakes, you'd better.
if I ever have any reason to believe that you or Micah will be in danger, you will know immediately.
She's gonna soften a little bit here and say, "It's appreciated, kid."
I'm also looking forward to the day that people stop calling me kid.
And she's gonna grin. Have it.
And he'll just offer a small smile. But I've made a habit tonight of overstaying my welcome, and I'm not going to do that now. So he'll get up. Thank you, Carson.
You're welcome. Have a good night. And she's gonna get
And
up.
he's gonna, yep. And Carver's gonna turn to leave.
Yep, she's gonna get on her bike and head out. And that is
Yeah.
where we'll leave it.
Yeah.